Hi, I'm Demia Utley, the founder here at Utley Strategies, and today I want to talk to you about some proposal tools that will help you when you're creating your proposals. So whether you're working with legal or finalizing pricing or doing design or inserting forms, there's a lot to creating a proposal, especially in response to an RFP. So if you're a team of two or a team of 15 or even more, the following tools are going to help you to make your proposal writing process just a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first tool that you need for your proposals is some sort of project management tool because proposals require a lot of documents, they have a lot of questions, they have a lot of information that you need to include. It's absolutely essential that you have some way to actually project manage your proposal. So the way you're going to do this depends on your company and your process and what you're already doing for project management. So some companies say are already using something like Asana to manage different projects throughout the company. And that means that that might be easier for you when you're working on your proposals as well. Other companies don't have something that formal or they want to manage it separately. So I've seen managing it actually within the proposal, like just adding comments on the document, using an Excel sheet, which is something that I personally prefer to do because I find that to be very easy. So it really depends on your organization. Just make sure that you identify how you're going to actually project manage the proposal, especially if it's an RFP response before you get started, because you don't want to get halfway through the project and then realize you're missing a lot of information or you don't know exactly what all is left. So make sure you have the project management solution figured out before you get started writing. Another essential tool for your proposals is to have some way to collaborate on the actual document itself. So you might be working with a lot of different team members, and that means that there needs to be a way for them to provide feedback. So whether it's partners or different internal teams or even other proposal writers, you want to have a way for everyone to share their thoughts on what is actually being created. So some companies will do that with actually collaborating within the document. So that means that you might be having a Google document, or maybe it's a Word document and you're on SharePoint, so everyone can write at the same time. So if that's the case, then you'll go through and everyone can just add their content throughout the document. So that's how you're going to collaborate. Prefer not to have everyone have access because it can result in someone maybe deleting something that has to be there, or just a lot of different voices that you would then have to go through and clean up. So in that case, you want to typically have some sort of master proposal document that the project manager or the lead writer is going to own. And then you might do something like just like sharing your screen with them to work through the proposal and get feedback. Or you might send over a proposal, the actual document to everyone to get feedback, and then you actually incorporate it yourself. So in this case, like the collaboration would be done through something like Zoom, where you're sharing your screen and kind of walking through the proposal versus giving everyone access to the actual document itself. Another tool you want to make sure you have for your proposals is a content library. So a lot of times you're going to be creating the same sections over and over again for your proposals. So almost every RFP is going to want to know about your company. They might ask for bios or resumes of your team, depending on your solution and things like that. So in those cases, having that in your content library where it's already drafted and you have a baseline of content that you can pull from to then tweak for that specific RFP is going to make your process just a lot easier and a lot more streamlined. And then once you start to see more sections come up as you're working through different RFPs, you can just keep adding them to your content library. So it just gets a little bit easier as you respond to more proposals. So once you have that core content created, then you want to make sure that you store it in a central location so that way anyone who is writing proposals has access to it. So the content library ideally is across the company versus each person having kind of their own little document that they pull from. We want to have it kind of standardized for your organization. So in some cases, having a proposal software with a content library is the best way to do that. In other cases, it might just be having something as simple as, yeah, like a Word document that's saved in a shared folder that everyone has access to and everyone can update. So it really depends on your organization and how you want to do that, but make sure you have some sort of content library to make your proposals just a little bit easier. Another tool on the list that you want to make sure you have for your proposals, especially if you're responding to RFPs, is Adobe Acrobat Pro. So I'm calling out this one specifically because it's absolutely essential when you're working on RFPs, especially in the government or public sector space. You're going to be pulling together a lot of different forms and different requirements and things like that and having to combine them all into one document. So Acrobat Pro is the best way to do this. If you don't already have a license, make sure you get one so that way it's just a little bit easier when you're responding to RFPs. Another tool that is absolutely essential for proposals is some way to design not just your proposals, but also the graphics within the proposals. So you, of course, want to have your overall proposal designed and have good text that's easy to read, think about the layout and things like that. But you also want to be able to create specific graphics for that particular customer or that you want to use, for a specific section to make it just a little bit easier to read for evaluators. So there are a few different ways you can do this. Some companies just use Microsoft Word to design things like simple callouts and things like that. And if you're not sure how to do that, make sure you check out our course on designing proposals in Microsoft Word because I share exactly how you can do that. In addition to Microsoft Word, there are a lot of organizations who use Adobe products like Illustrator and InDesign. So if you have licenses for that and you have someone on your team who knows how to use that, then that could be a good solution. I've also seen some organizations use Microsoft PowerPoint where they just use that as a way to actually create graphics that then they add into their proposal in Word or whatever word processor they're using. Another option is canva.com. So if you haven't been there, Canva is a great tool and has a lot of different templates that you can use to create graphics to make your proposals just a little bit easier to read through and to make your points more clear. Okay, so that was a quick overview of a few different types of tools that you need for your proposals. There are some platforms out there that combine all of these into one solution. I will say that in general, if you're responding to RFPs, a lot of times it's actually easier to use different tools versus having an all-in-one because you're going to go through and have a different format and layout each time when you're responding to the RFP because every customer is going to require a different structure and things like that. And some of these all-in-one tools, they're not as flexible as something like just writing in Word, for example. But if you're not responding to RFPs, then having an all-in-one tool could be a great option for you. For example, here at Utley Strategies, when we're responding to customers and we're sending over proposals to potential customers for ourselves, we actually use PandaDoc. And I really like that because we can have a template, it has a content library, it's well designed, and it's easy to collaborate in for us and also for potential clients. So that is a great option if you haven't looked into that, but I would not recommend that for RFPs unless they make it just a little bit easier to write in. So that's an option if you're not responding to RFPs. But that's all that I have today for the essential tools that you need for your proposal writing. So now that you know what you need to do, you can go and start crafting your proposals and make your process just a little bit easier. If you need help figuring out how to put any of this into practice, you can always schedule a one-on-one proposal session with me. I've linked that below this video. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time.